Brigadier Ian, you've written this book recently on your days in the army and in Nagpur. So can you tell us a little bit about the Goans in Nagpur first?
Yes, certainly. I always missed Goa, but I didn't miss it so much because in Nagpur we had so many Goans, very prominent Goans, and they all were like a family together.
How many at the most?
Well, when we had our Goan social, we used to have about 1,000 plus
Wow.
of Goans there. I'm talking about elders and younger people.
This is in the 30s, 40s?
Well, this was in the 40s and the 50s and the 60s. I left at the end of the 50s. I went to the army, and therefore I really don't know too many people, though I was to get back on my holidays sometime, but that was till I got married in the mid-60s. After that I started coming to Goa.
Your chapter talks about a Goan village in Nagpur,
Yes,
where you describe street by street who lived where.
yes.
Could you tell us a little bit about that?
You see, what happened, my dad was one of the Goan leaders of the community. And he took everybody in under one umbrella and made them feel like Goa. And he himself was very particular about the customs and traditions in Goa. And he tried to put them on to. He himself lost his parents when he was both in 1910, when he was very young.
He was a surgeon who took part in World War One.
Yeah. Well, when in World War One, he was an army doctor. He was a lieutenant and then a captain. And it is after World War One that he went to England to do his FRCS, because he found so many British doctors, and he used to tell me that the British doctors weren't as competent as him. So he thought that all that he was lacking was the degree.
And he served in which part of the war, which theatres?
Well, he was in the northwest frontier province, that is, Kohat and Khyber Pass and those areas with the British. And the stories of one thing is there, that these Afghans, or what do you call them?
Pashtuns.
Yeah, Pakhtuns were very brave people. They didn't have much of weaponry, but they were skilled. They were sharpshooters, they were snipers. My dad used to tell me that, when the Gurkha column went, they picked out the officer from there, and one shot used to go. And that was the officer was down.
And apart from these northwest frontier province, he was in modern day Iraq and Basra. And
Yeah, that was a little later. That was in 16. When it was in 14 and all, 1914, he was in the frontier provinces.
Okay, so 1916?
In 1916, his battalion with the 4 Infantry Division moved on to the Middle East. It was part of the Middle East Expeditionary Force. And they took part in the famous battle of Shumran. See, it was one of the biggest battles, and the Indians made the impact over there. The engineers constructed one of the longest bridges over the river Tigris, and that brought them a big name. It's not easy. That those days equipment was not so available at large quantity, but the Indian engineers managed whatever they had. All came from India.
Yeah.
And it was a floating bridge.
You've told the story of your dad operating officer, British officer without...
Yes. That was the same battle of Shumran, just on the other side of the Tigris. So firstly you have to cross the river, in which lots of people died, because it's not easy to cross a wide river with an enemy sitting on the other side and taking short strategy, because you're swimming.
Yeah.
You're going through swimming, and very few boats were there. So he, at that time, this brave officer, he was just a lieutenant at that time, Lieutenant Wheeler. He won a Victoria Cross because he was a dashing fellow, and he took the Gurkhas and they managed. And then he won after that battle. He was very mortally wounded, and he had a when they cut him open, they found that there is a bullet in his lung.
I see.
As you know, in those times, and in those places, there were no such thing as having X-rays and this that. So you had to sort of think about it and diagnose. My father said, I think this fellow's lung has been badly this thing. He was bleeding from the mouth, this, that, and he found it correct. And he, in a small little tent, he operated on him, and he removed that bullet from his lung.
Without anesthesia?
Yeah, without anesthesia, without the proper equipment, he used a penknife.
I see.
And Wheeler lived, and he got the Victoria Cross. He received it from the king at that time.
I see.
And it was a great achievement for that battalion and for the Gurkhas.
Coming back to Nagpur, you mentioned street by street, house by house, person by person.
Yes.
How is it that you have such a good memory for names?
Yes, this is God given to me. Even today, I remember all the men who were around me. I remember sometimes some of them by their numbers,
I see.
because they have been so closely associated with me, training together, living together in the field areas, fighting the Pakistanis, going for long patrols, and so on, and ambushes. Well, so that all makes the people come together, and you remember, at least I remember it. That
If you had to name three persons, three Goan families from Nagpur, the most memorable, who would they be?
one would certainly be Dr. Edwin Rosario. His son Kenneth was my classmate, and Keith is still in. Keith and Kenneth are both in Bangalore.
We'll just let him pass. That was a wedding procession. So
Keith and Kenneth are still in Bangalore. Dr. Edwin Rosario was the superintendent of the Nagpur Medical College Hospital. He was a fantastic person. And his brothers also. One of them was Bishop Joe Rosario. Another was another brother of his was in the Indian Army, and from Singapore onwards, when the Indians surrendered, he joined the INA. So you see, that was
one person.
the type of the family I'm talking about.
Who else?
Yes. Well, we had another person, D'Souza, Ligori D'Souza. He was the director of education, DOE, and his son Kevin was my colleague, senior to me.
In the army.
In the army. He retired. We did the staff college together. We did many things. We get the senior command course together, and we did many other things. And finally, he retired as the deputy chief of army staff.
I see.
He did very well, and I think these are the type of families who brought really credit to the Nagpur Goans.
And which were the institutions that played a vibrant part? The school, the MSSF school?
Yes, the MSFS school was St. Francis de Sales. It was a fantastic school and had very good teachers.
Probably is.
It still is, because it has expanded now. In my time, there were about 700 to 800 students. Today, I'm told it is over 1,000, 1,200 or so. And the number of classrooms have become more. And at that time, it was just ground plus one on the first floor. And the top was the hostel, or what was it called in those days? The boarders.
Boarding.
Yeah, the boarding was there. And, we have from Saligaon, Archbishop Eugene, who was the prefect of discipline at first time when I was a little boy. Then later on he became the vice principal and the principal. He's a fantastic man who brought in a lot. By his lecture tours in America, he brought in a lot of money.
Yes.
And we built up many things, including the seminary and the SFS college. First there was no college. It was only SFS school. We went on to do a very good job. And besides, I must tell you that SFS was not only a very good institution of education, it was a very good sports institution. SFS school almost won every competition there. Football, hockey, basketball and athletics. We had a lot of Goans who were the champions of Nagpur.
What I found interesting in your book is that you talk about how the community built the individuals, and in turn the individuals built a community.
That's right.
And I think you ended up also, your family ended up donating the house to the Pilar.
To the Pilar Fathers. You see, it was also, I must give the Pilar Fathers, we gave it,
Yeah.
but it was the Pilar Fathers who were after us saying that they wanted some place in Nagpur. And this was, you can't get a better place than Saturday Media, which was my mother's name, and the houses and our property right in the center of the town on Bank Street.
Today it is the seminary or training grounds or what?
Today it is the MSFS seminary over there.
Pilar.
Pilar seminary over there, which is called Pilar Niketan. And the other building that is there, huge building,
Yeah.
is called Mother Teresa Ashram.
I see.
That's where the people who go from all other places stay now. And it's very good. It's right on the main road, Kamti Road. Kamti is a military cantonment 10 kilometers away from there. But it is very well known. We are the second or third house on the Kamti Road.
Does the name come from Camp T as some web sites suggest?
No.
Okay.
No, it is not that. It is Kamptee.
Yeah.
So that Kamti is slightly different.
I see.
It was a local name, and it has a Kanan